Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Your Relationship With podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow. I am a business relationship consultant. What does that mean, even? I say it on every episode, and I'm like, what is that even? Listen, I used to be a dating coach for 6 years, and when I looked back on everything that I had spent time and money on trying to grow my business, what I saw is that the one thing that consistently helped me grow my business was the relationships that I made and the connections that I built along the way. And so I am on a mission to help women get back to that, get back to the basics of growing a business like an actual loving, caring human being. Isn't that a concept? So one of the ways that I do that is in my Powerful Women Rising community. It's a community of female entrepreneurs who are building and growing their business together with the support and the wisdom and the love of each other. And it's designed to be everything that you need in order to start and grow your business all in one place. So we have mastermind calls, co-working calls, networking calls. We have experts that come in and teach on various topics. And we have a whole lot of fun too. So if that appeals to you, click on the link in the show notes to get more information about the Powerful Women Rising community. Speaking of powerful women, today we have my interview with Kami Guildner. Kami believes that women's voices matter. She's a connector, a storyteller, a business coach for high vibe women entrepreneurs, helping them raise up their voice, vision, and visibility for impact and business growth. Whew, amen. Kami helps her clients build businesses that they love with more time prosperity and more wealth prosperity. She weaves soulful inspiration into mindful business strategies, and this soul plus strategy approach to business helps her clients succeed in business and worldly impact. Today, we're talking about exactly that, time prosperity and wealth prosperity. And when Kami first proposed this idea to me as a topic, I was like, what? I don't even know what that means. But it has been incredible digging into that with her and really discovering the relationship between time and wealth and a lot of the thoughts that we have baked into us already that we don't even know are there about time and wealth and how to create more of both, and how creating more of one actually creates more of the other. So I'm super excited for you to hear my interview with Kami Guildner on your relationship with time and wealth. Hello, Kami. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Melissa. It's great to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you here. So I connected with you through your Extraordinary Women Ignite conference. I think that was the first time you and I met, although I'd been stalking you on social media long before that.
Well, yes, it was. And it was such a pleasure to meet you. And, you just have amazing women in your community as well, I've discovered. So it's really fun to get to know you and your community better as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that conference was amazing. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a business coach. I help women raise up their voice and their visibility and grow their business. And I am really passionate about helping women grow businesses that they love, right? That, we can build businesses where we just replace a job, and that's not what I am about at all. So many of my clients are former corporate women, and as they have stepped into this next evolution of their life, growing a business and doing it for impact, what I've discovered is there's much better ways to grow our businesses so that it just does not become this busy cycle, the same 80-hour work weeks. Nobody wants to go back to that. And I'm really passionate about helping women not do that.
Yeah, I love that. That's one of the reasons I love the topic that we're talking about today and this idea of time prosperity is because I think it's very easy. In the beginning, we're so focused on like, this is why I want to create this business and this is my why. And I'm so passionate about it. And then we get caught up in the day to day and that I need to get more clients. I need to post on social media. I need to do the thing. I need to start a podcast, all the things. And then we've like completely gotten away from why we even wanted to start the business to begin with. And It stops being fun.
Right. Totally. And and we're doing this work. So many of us are being called to do the work that we're doing. And we can't show up in our best light if we're in that kind of a cycle of just doing, and not ever being in the space of being.
Yeah, for sure. I used to joke when I first started my business that I quit working for somebody else 40 hours a week so I could work for myself 80 hours a week. And now here I am 7 years later. And I'm like, that joke's not funny anymore.
Yeah. No, that joke is not funny. Yeah. And the good news is there's ways that you can build your smart ways that you can build your business so that you don't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I had a really good interview that I did with Connie Kircher about
Mhm.
strategic planning. So if you guys haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to that one too, because that is a very helpful way to make sure that you are using your time efficiently. And a lot of that is stuff that we miss out on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this idea of time prosperity and what is that really?
Yeah. So time prosperity is, I mean, one, to start with, just as a baseline, is there's more white space on your calendar. You've got white space that you can actually think and be a CEO to look at your business strategically. And I often will block off Fridays. There's no meeting days on Fridays. I often will block off the last week of the month where there's no meetings on that month. And so, or on that week. And so that gives me a white space so that I can be strategic about where my business is going and, be able to put some, if I want to write something that is content for my clients, it's evolves my work. It gives me space to evolve my work from where it is today into that next evolution of what my work stands for. So I really like having that kind of space to be able to create. And I've really liked playing with the word create in that space because we can turn it into, oh, I have to do these sorts of things. But instead
Mhm.
it's in so much of what time prosperity is the energy that we show up in time prosperity. Because I can tell you, and I was just having this conversation with a client last week. She's like, I've got more white space on my calendar, but I feel guilty
Mhm.
that I'm not filling it up with something. And I
Mhm.
have to really fight that. And I was like, oh, I totally understand that. And it's, the energy when how you move between one meeting to another meeting is we can really look at what does that look like. And I'll give you an example. I went to, and I played with this last year. I was flying to Toronto and I was going to spend the day at the airport, right? And I decided very early on that morning, it was pretty early because I had a morning flight. And I was like, I am just going to move through this day with time prosperity. And it's like, you don't think of being in an airport as time
No.
prosperous, right? I mean, that's just,
No.
it's like they're almost opposites.
Yeah.
But I left my house early in the morning. It was dark out. And I left with plenty of time. So I gave myself plenty of time. And, anybody that lives in Colorado right now knows the Denver airport is just a crazy space to go through.
Mhm.
And I'd been through it the month before it in a very non-time prosperity way, like almost missing a flight, right? So I
Yeah.
was like, it's not going to be that way. And so I drove down, I put on like some nice music, and I live up a canyon, a mountain canyon. And so I drove down the canyon, and there was a moon out. It was beautiful. There were stars and nice music. So I really started that drive down to the airport in that kind of a zone.
Yeah.
And then I got to the airport and I had plenty of time. So every step of the way, as I was checking in, I was checking bags, all that sort of thing, I just was breathing through it differently, right? I mean, I was like,
Mhm.
I have plenty of time. I'm not in any rush. I got to the gate, there was plenty of time, and so all day long to the time when I got to my dinner that night that I needed to be at, there, I never felt rushed because
Mhm.
I had left plenty of time for myself. And it
Mhm.
was a big awakening for me because I was like, okay, I felt really at ease all day long there was no stress to the day because it was
Yeah.
just so in flow.
Yeah.
And, I had to make that choice. I had to make a conscious mindset choice, and I had to make make sure that I have space. So I think it takes both sides of that. And when we look at our weeks, on a week to week basis or a month basis in our businesses, we can really decide what's the rhythm that I want to live in.
Mhm.
I don't take meetings before 10 o'clock in the morning because I
Mhm.
like my mornings. I like my morning rituals. I like that sort of thing. But it's really getting so that we're consciously making these kinds of decisions, and then also, and equally as importantly, paying attention to how we move between the different things, the different, whether it's you're finishing your day and you're moving to go make dinner or whatever, it's like choosing to move through that very consciously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think what's interesting about your story about the airport too, as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking like having that time prosperity changed your experience for sure. But it also changed the experience of all the people that you were interacting with. Like if I think about the most irate, inappropriate people at the airport, it's usually because they don't have time prosperity, right? They didn't give themselves long enough. Their layover was too quick. Something was behind or whatever. And so now you're able to interact with all of these people that you come along with in that day in a very different energy because you have that. And so I think of that in terms of business, like we're interacting very differently with our clients. We're interacting very differently. Like even this meeting, I was rushing around and late to our interview and all the things, but I had to take a second before I even logged on to be like, okay, here we are. Let that go. Right.
And
because if I don't
so
create that, this is going to be a very different interview.
Right. Yeah. And you did. You came on very calmly, and it was like, I'm fine. I'm bored. You let me know I was doing some other things, and it worked just fine. And and having the wherewithal to say I need to breathe before I just rush and jump onto this call was really wise.
Yeah. And I like what you said about it being a choice too, right? We have to choose that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So time prosperity is obviously important in terms of like improving your experience, your mood, how you're interacting in the world. But how does it translate then to wealth prosperity? How does it actually make us more money?
Yeah. And it takes, it's not just having the time prosperity to make the wealth prosperity. You actually have to have the right business model set up to really align to, so I can go back to a time when I had, I was coaching, X number of clients per day, every day a week, several years ago. And it was like, it's strenuous. It's like to speak to that many people, to show up for that many people. And now I'm much better at I set up my business model in a smart way, right? So it's a simple business model. So I'm going to there's actually an acronym for it if I can remember them all right now. So S is simple. And so really simplify your business model. Know your client customer journey and where you're taking them, and serve that customer journey. Because as entrepreneurs, we often have all these ideas that we want to, go out and do. And it's like, oh my gosh, look at the shiny syndrome, or the shiny object syndrome. And it's like, we want to go off in all these different directions, and it's really easy. And I constantly have to catch myself from just adding more things onto my business and say, is it really in alignment with how I serve my clients in their customer journey? So that's the simplify one. M is market. So you have to really know your market. You have to know who is that client that you serve. A is ascending. It's the ascending model. So it's like you bring your products, your clients into your first level product, and then you could take them into the next level product. You know their journey. You're in that with them. R is repeatable. So it's something that you can keep doing, so you don't have to reinvent all the time. And then T is time prosperous. So there's your smart business model. You're creating the white space for your business with this. And when you are creating your business for scalability, you're often, very often people are in that space of one-on-one coaching, one-on-one consulting, where they're trading time for dollars. And when you're getting into that ascending model, you're starting to create products that allow you to scale your business. And so that you can go one to many. And, it's important to start with that, your space where you're trading one, time for dollars. It's important space to start there, because you need to grow your number of people you have in your communities before you group, so you don't group too soon. But that avenue to, that ascending product model is really what ascending scalable product model is really what sets you up for both the time prosperity and the wealth prosperity.
Yeah. It makes sense that you would need those first four things before you could get to the time prosperity. Because it like you can't, people who are listening to this can't just be like, okay, I'm going to take these 12 things off my calendar.
Yeah.
And I'll have more time prosperity and then I'll make more money. Like there is strategy behind it.
Or you're being really selective and you're not trying to do all things. Like choose your core marketing strategy that, you're going to be reaching out to your clients with and build it from that place. But, I think what I see happening a lot with entrepreneurs is they'll say yes to too many different approaches to marketing. They will, really just, though it gets messy because we keep saying yes. And I literally caught myself doing this recently. I was like, somebody asked me to partner with her on something. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I love what you're building. And yes, I'll do this. And she's like, it will only take 5 hours per week. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then I started doing it. I'm like, what the heck am I thinking? I'm losing all of my time prosperity. I'm losing the space where I can think. And I had to call her and say, okay, I can't. So it's just our tendency. We want to say yes to things. And that simplicity is so important, and simplicity in who we serve, how we serve them, and then how we market.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the people who are listening to this, who are thinking like, okay, I definitely need more time prosperity. Like this is a new concept to me and I can't imagine what it is like. Or even people who are like, yeah, I think I have some of that, but I think I need more of it. What are some of the things that they can start doing today? One of them that you mentioned was like maybe not saying yes to everything or being a little more intentional about what you're saying yes to and what kind of time that's going to take. What are some other things that people can start doing today to create more time prosperity in their life?
Block things off on your calendar. Block CEO time on your calendar. I encourage my clients from the very get-go to do just that. Don't, if you're not making white space for you, you can't grow your business in a way that you're thinking strategically or higher level of where it's going. And time block like different types of things. If you're a coach, time block, I'm going to coach at this time, but not at, time block that, I'm going to coach this time every week, but not that they can get to you anytime they need you. So really starting to create boundaries around when you're available and then when you're going to make time for yourself. And when I say white space, I'm not meaning that it's like you're not doing something. It's like you're like going off to go play. It means that you're doing things for your business. You're putting that CEO hat on and really being in that space of, okay, what do I want to be? Where do I want this to go? What are the big ideas? How do I take my work deeper for my clients? Those kinds of questions.
Yeah. And you have to not only put those things on your calendar, but then you have to actually honor them on your calendar.
So
right? Let's not forget that part. I'm really good at blocking things out on my calendar. I always have CEO time blocked out on my calendar on Fridays. But then throughout the week, it'll be like, oh, Susie needs to reschedule, but she can't do any other time but Friday morning. I'm like, that's fine. I can move my seat. Like it's always, I feel like for me, it's always the first thing to go. And so we have to honor that CEO time as if it were an important appointment with someone who was going to like make all the difference in our business because
Absolutely. It is. And it's if you think about it, it's one of the things I've been, playing with also is that we can't outsource our leadership of thought. And so often I've done this as well. I've done it in my own business where I'm like, oh, I want to hire this person to do this sort of thing for me, right? And when it's high level leadership of thought, where it's like your ideas and you're taking them to a new level, or it's your ideas and you're just making, taking it deeper into what you want to be teaching in that work. People can take the content. So people can take this podcast, for example, and find quotable quotes out of it, and they can repurpose it. So we can hire somebody to do that. But the big picture leadership thinking is ours to own. And only we can do that because it's our stories, it's our wisdom, it's our, journey that we've been on that we can that we can really share with others.
Right.
And that's the beauty of making that. If we we give away that white space, we lose that space to be able to go deeper with that thinking.
Yeah, I love that. Such a good point. So, if anyone is listening to this podcast and they want to connect more with you, they want to learn more about what you do with business strategy and creating more time prosperity, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
So they can go out to my website. It's kamiguildner.com. And at the very top, there's a space where you can find out about all of my different events that I run on. So every month I am doing some sort of a teaching, some sort of a free training.
Oh, awesome.
And so you can be on my mailing list and you can see which training I'm doing, each month. I host some roundtables. I do some trainings. I've got just different spaces for people to be able to take any of this work. And this is what I'm speaking to a lot, right now is really around the time prosperity, the business models, all of this. And it's free, right? It's out there and it's available. So that's a great place to connect with me.
Awesome. So if you want to know more about creating time prosperity, really dig into it, check out Kami's website. And Kami, thank you so much for coming on the podcast to talk about this today. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Your Relationship With podcast. If you liked what you heard, we would love for you to subscribe and leave us a review. If you want more information about the Powerful Women Rising community or about our monthly virtual speed networking event, check out the link in the comments. We'll see you next time.